We are
Yes.
live.
But
Oh,
We are
yes,
live.
we are.
so Bina, you've been at this then for how long? You and Ryan and everybody?
It's more than 3 years now.
More than 3, yeah, because I'm
Yes.
like right at 3. So
Yes, so it's just
Yeah.
more than a few months, more than 3 years now. At the moment, it was very second day when I just left my job. My job ended actually at Arts Council, and the second day I was just in my bed. I was thinking what I'm going to do now because it was too busy job there, and it's so much happening. And I saw Sil's ad there right in front of me, and that's how. And it was like, wow, the
Wow.
Yeah.
most amazing thing happened in my adult life. I could say that that was the day when I actually jump onto that. And that was so amazing because I was using at that time, I was using my Chromebook. It's a mini laptop, which is like kind of a mixture between phone and the laptop. So some capacities, some are not available. So when Sil actually offered me that, okay, come on Zoom. And I said, okay. And we were trying and we were trying and we were trying. And oh my God, I
Yeah.
was super, super embarrassed and super, of course, irritated also. But Sil has such an amazing
Because
patience.
your internet connection was very poor. It kept dropping and you couldn't
Yes.
find
And also,
Zoom and yeah, just all
yes.
sorts of
And it
stuff.
was
Yeah.
limitation also from the Chromebook.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he was being so patient. That was the first introduction to way of impeccability that someone can have that, sorry to use this word, I don't like this word, but I have to use that ridiculous patience.
Well,
Yeah.
Bina, that is such a cool story. And,
Mm.
you know, you are such an awesome compliment to Sil. I mean, the two of you work
Yeah.
so well together. It really, you
Yes.
know, you're such a
Yes.
help with bringing it all down
Yes.
to earth.
Actually,
Yes.
he is a big influence in transforming my life. Also, I don't like to use this word, but I'm saying
Wow.
that because he was always there, not only just by telling or sharing his things, but just by practicing. So his
Right.
patience at that time was a big deal for me. That
Oh,
why
huge,
someone,
huge. I
how someone
totally
can be
I
so
can relate to
patient
that. Yeah.
and
Hmm.
so persistent into that without having any irritation, botherness, and all that. No nonsense. He was just
Right.
keep trying with the same
Hmm.
energy. That was a huge deal for me
Hmm.
because I was irritated, I was feeling embarrassed, and I was like, no, I'm going to just throw this out. How this, because it is impossible, all sort of things. But he was like, oh, it is going to happen. And it took hours. It took hours, even on the first day. And if after that, it was again so many things involved into that. Like, okay, every single time I had some sort of issues with these things, but then everything resolved by him and by his patience. So the first
Wow. Patience
lesson,
is
the
a
first
superpower.
actual uh, uh, we can say that influence, your actual real
Application.
gift, a real gift from way of impeccability was patience.
Yes.
Patience without
Yes.
being
Yes.
irritated.
yeah.
Yes.
That was,
Yes. All
wow.
right. Let's get going. Let's get going. I love it. I love it. I mean,
Yes.
we can chat about wave impeccability all day long, but I want to say hello,
Yes.
Norma, and hello, Ramsey. And no, you are not early. And I've got just wonderful. Janelle is here and Lisa's here. Ryan's going to be joining us. Too wonderful. And I'm thrilled that you here, Ramsey, that you came. This is fantastic. And hello, Norma. Bina, do me a favor and message or tag Janet
Okay.
in the comments because she's on the live on the announcement. She's not in the on group, so she's going to miss out on the comments. So hello,
Okay.
Elizabeth, entrusted Elizabeth. Ah, I'm very pleased to hear. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. This is too great, too great. I'm very excited to get going, and I'm going to start in a minute. Because I don't want to take too long, because many are going to be watching this on the replay, and then they have to sit and listen to all of this sort of, non-story stuff. I want to get right into the story right away. So this is a capital R reading, and as you guys know, many of you have done this already. If something grabs you, grabs your attention and you say, wow, wait a second, hang on. Or like, Lisa, you're a great champion at this. You say, but hang on, so wait a second. What about, I get that. So it's important, right? To check the understanding, check the logic, check the rationale, and so on. And also, if something grabs you really personally, you jump in and say, this really touches me, or whatever, this is meaningful, whatever, right? Please share, right? So this is what we're about. There is a lot moreness, and for the first couple of slides, we're going to get into the story a little bit. It takes a little while to set it up, and then it will start getting a bit moreness coming, right? So, but please feel free to jump in. It's not a problem. I just picked right up where I was. It doesn't faze me in the least. I mean, we do this all the time. It's a regular thing that we do. So anybody have anything to share before we get going? No, everybody good. All right, so brilliant. So I'm going to share screen, and I'm going to go full screen, so I won't see the comments. So if somebody makes a great big comment there, Bina, I'll just leave this up to you to either address the comment or let me know on the comment, right? What it is. So, if there's something that I need to attend to. Here we go. Chapter 0, part 1, Seeding the Dream. I do want to add before I get into this. The story is a very big deal to me. There is tons and tons and tons into it. And this chapter 0 is the prologue. And so keep that in mind. The story itself, in terms of going to Nobelia and Biella, because it's called the Biella series, as many of you know, this starts in chapter 1. So chapter 0 is a complete prologue, and it's in a whole different reality, as you'll soon see. So chapter 0, part 1, Seeding the Dream. Just a quick note, in the story on the slides, you'll see I use capitalized terms, and those are entries in our dictionaries of power, right? For those who do Way-of-Impeccability and who are doing the Moreness-Project, and just most of you know this already. And capitalization of this nature is part of the new nobility writing and speaking style, employing the logic of emphasis to inculcate their core terms into each other. In speech, a slight inflection of emphasis accompanies these terms. A little harder to do in speech than it is in writing, but nonetheless, it's very important, it's very powerful. So if you are keeping notes, as some do, pay attention to those capitalized terms. They are very meaningful. They're there for a reason. Thing is, with our dreams, our goals, our aspirations, they are such a big deal to us. We tend to assume it's a big deal to attain them, when really it isn't. The young man. The chaos began, slowly at first, as the great gravity engines depowered. Arriving successfully in the new galaxy, all seemed well. Glitches appeared, not unexpected. The first major sign of impending havoc came when entire starship populations awakened prematurely. Lucky that. Too lucky. Navigation next, resulting in unauthorized fleet dispersal. When the full extent of the computer collapse became known, the inevitable was obvious. Before communications shut down permanently, the last order went out. Find the nearest habitable planet. Controlled crash landings the only option, with all systems failing. The living would be safe, along with most of the necessary cargo and some of the technology, but the mighty starships themselves, these would be beyond salvage. The chaos not random. New galaxy, new beginnings. Humanity had been evolved in isolation. Now they had finally managed to enter into space in which other comparable species lived. But humanity, as it was not enough. They would be a key element in the great project of the gods.
Oh, I love it.
We'll just pause here for a second. I want to zoom out and step back, right? Because it's kind of a cliffhanger there. But because I'm sharing this story via the actual program course that it is, which is a big deal, I'm going to share the tasks and exercises. Now, of course, I'm just going to read them out. you're not going to be writing them. If you want to, of course, you can go into detail and, come back to them, and we can go over those and get in detail on them. However, just as a real quick point here, what aspirations, see, capital A, aspirations, above and beyond the normal might you have? What would be an ideal circumstance of being for you? Now, please, I'll hold the answers here, because if we get into answering this, we're going to spend our entire time on this, because aspirations are a big deal, right? Now, go ahead, Lisa. Share some of the nuanced revelations revealed by implication. And the reason I ask this question here is to pay attention to revelation, right? If we go back a slide and we look there's two points here. The chaos, not random. Now, chaos by its very nature, you would think is random, yes? But now there's an implication, right? So the implication, if the chaos is not random, then there was a cause for it, right? And now we go in 2 lines here: new galaxies, new beginnings. Chaos, not random. There's a purpose behind it. This is the implication. And then we say humanity had been evolved. Just that sentence on its own, if you look at the nuanced implication, it's saying, right, in other words, that humanity's evolution, if it had been, it was again some agency, some deliberation involved. So now we say, there's something going on. Then, of course, it comes in the end line here, the great project of the gods. And we're going to see this is going to add some depth and fun. So implication is a big deal. The way I like to write is much via implication, and because there's multi-layers, you can't write all the layers, so you have to have that implication. So just be aware that it's there, right? If you extrapolate, especially with what you may already know, what do you foresee coming? So this is another thing that is fun to do, is to kind of look ahead and see if you can extrapolate where the story is going. Now, sometimes, hopefully, you should be able to, but other times you can say, oh, that'll take you by surprise. And that, again, is deliberate. So I'm also going to be sharing as we're going along, not just the depth of the story in terms of its moreness, its alternative paradigm, and all of the tools, the different ways of being, ways of living, all of that. But also, I'm going to be adding in writing stuff, which just for the fun of it, like this, right? You want to foreshadow things, you want to preempt, and you want to have the reader be able to extrapolate, but you also want to surprise the reader and take them by surprise, because that's how stories are. When you write them, as writers know, you're not always in control of the story. At some point, when you get fully immersed, the story starts to write you. Right? Now, and I mean that in more ways than one. Not only does the story write itself, but the story starts to write you as a person. You change through the writing of the story. It's a very big deal, right? When you really get into writing in that way. All right. So we ended. Oh, go ahead, Lisa. Go ahead. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just, I have to say that, while reading the story, and what always came to mind to me was one of my favorite movies, which was, oh gosh, dang, what was the name of that? The Never-Ending Story.
Yes.
And so there's a parallel there with what you just said.
Yeah, exactly. It's a big deal. It's a very, very, very big deal. All right, so we ended. I'm going to continue with the story till the next section where there's more tasks or more questions. Right. So so we ended here.
In the other fridge.
Oh, you still you unmuted. There we go. But humanity as it was not enough. They would be a key element in the great project of the gods. Can you relish the dream? Do you relish your dream? Biella Noble. Back on soon-to-be old Earth, the idea of humanity moving to the stars as a serious idea had begun with a corporation, a long-term idea begun as a motivation campaign. This corporation was a B Corp, a benefit corporation. Their concept designed to encourage and stimulate not only the hard sciences, but also the social sciences, especially those Part of the campaign entailed envisioning the culture, the ideals, the psychology, philosophy, and spirituality such settlers of a new galaxy might have. This idea, this campaign, came in a time of powerful self-questioning. It took hold as the necessity for a new paradigm for society became especially pressing. One of the leading nation states had taken a leader into power who represented the very worst of the old paradigm of dominance and superiority, of the falsehood of ego and vanity, a representation of a still sizable but shrinking section of the population who clung desperately to refusing to change. This atavistic section of the population had never before been so obviously represented, always subtly, their agenda furthered indirectly. But this time it was blatant, raw, obvious, in full consciousness, and ugly. As ever with such matters, they only thrive in the dark. Exposure typically killed this false dream of stasis, showing it for what it really was, stagnation. But it had shown the clear necessity for a replacement of the entire system. At this time, the concept of the noble ideal resurfaced, but in its pure form, stripped of any superiority associations. This deep concept fueled the idea of humanity starting over somewhere, beginning again, but this time without needing to blunder their way through all the false and detrimental ideologies. The idea of what constituted the noble ideal when it first surfaced had much to support it, and thus had a good basis for extending upon. The concept, propagated by the B Corp, caught fire with the entire world. Under the guise of a project to settle the stars, the concept was further developed and extended. All right. So what's your personal noble ideal? Again, share if you have something that comes right away, but other than that, again, these are big questions. Our personal noble ideal here, I mean that which sits so deep in our heart that we almost don't even think it's attainable or possible. Hence that quote that started the whole story, right? The quote from the young man, where we think these goals, some of them are so grand, so lofty, and it's such a big deal to us, we think they're impossible, right? Noble ideals sitting deep in our heart tend to fall into that similar category. So it's powerful to look at this because, and this question, I'm very keen for everyone hearing this to really seriously consider what your personal noble ideal is, not only for yourself, but maybe for the world, for humanity, for everybody, for all of nature, animals, everything, right? This is noble ideal includes everything. What it is and could possibly be. Why? Because we are going to explore a particular noble ideal. And I want to make this point absolutely clear. It is a noble ideal. There's no such thing as the noble ideal. There's not just one. Everybody can have their own. This happens to be one that I've dreamed up, right? And there's a couple multiples in here. However, that doesn't mean simply because I like this idea that I even myself think it's the only potential noble idea. No, I don't. It just happens to be so in the story, right? And you've got to choose one and go with it. Now, your noble ideal, at least for me, has much in it. It's flexible, it's fluid, and it grows, it evolves, it expands. It's a big deal, this, but I'm keen to understand and make clear that I'm not putting out something that I think everybody should follow, they should do. No, absolutely not. If you've paid attention to anything I've ever said, you'll know that should and supposed to. No, those do not belong in my vocabulary, right? So simply because I like this idea does not mean I think it is appropriate and ideal for anybody else. Yeah, it's I like this idea. Others may join me in liking it, but of course, you're going to customize and individualize as it suits you. Now, to me, an ideal, noble ideal is one that is open. So when I was talking about culture, and Lisa brought up this point when I said, well, I'm looking to create in the lives, right, every Sunday, a culture of interactivity, of openness, of communion. He says, yeah, but aren't you just creating another culture and it's just the same as all the other things? It's limiting. And I said, no. Why? Because this is a culture of openness, a culture of receptivity, capital R, receptivity. You're not sure what that is? Please ask. We'll go into it in detail. It's a very big deal. A culture of sharing, a culture of acceptance, a culture of acknowledgement, and particularly the culture I wish to create in here, in the lives, right? Both on Zoom and in group, in the comments, is a culture of where we are so open that we are able to celebrate difference. Celebrate difference. Not accept, not acknowledge, not tolerate difference, but celebrate difference. So the very opposite of celebrating difference is to say, you must like what I like. You must follow what I like. Absolutely no. What I'm sharing is just my ideas, my suggestions, my thoughts. It's not even a suggestion, really. It's simply a sharing, right? You can see what I like. And okay, there's a lot in it. I spent a lot of time and effort on this. Not everybody has the time to put this into it. So yes, all right, I'm bringing a lot of things into thing, and you can pick and choose now. I've kind of done the work, right? And say, wow, I like this. This stimulates me. This inspires me. This motivates me. And we go from there, right? It's a very, very powerful thing. So this whole question here, what's your personal noble ideal? How do you imagine your ideal world and society, your utopia, right? And because this is what I'm going to be sharing. Yeah, please, go ahead.
So yes, Ramzi and Lisa both has shared their own ideas of nobility or noble ideal. Ramzi said in the comments, he says, mine are restraining myself from compulsiveness and radiating positivity.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow. That is powerful. That is powerful.
Yeah.
That is powerful. Yes.
And
Positivity,
and
especially, sorry, one second.
Yes.
I just want to say on positivity, yes, we are absolutely going to connect to positivity, and we are going to see through the story the particular unrelenting positivity, which I do feel we need to have. So yeah. This is very, very, very powerful. Very cool. All right, go ahead.
Yes, and Lisa also said that in the Zoom chat, and she says, my ideal is that all life, animal, plants, etc., are considered intelligent and treated as such.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes, Cher being really thorough, and she's saying that, okay, it's a tough question to come up with on the spot with an answer.
Exactly.
So,
yes, it is. It's a long-term thing.
You will see some post from her. Yes.
Absolutely. And this idea of the noble ideal, this isn't only for now or next week. This story, we're going to be doing this for the next couple of months, probably till the end of the year, if not longer. But let it grow, let it build, let it develop. I simply wish to ask the question so that it's in you there somewhere, that it's bubbling around, and say, wow, I never even thought to consider developing my own noble ideal. Maybe, some of you might have. But if not, then you say, wow, okay, let me build it a bit further. Let me go a bit deeper. If this, then what that? What does it mean? What does it imply? What does it entail? Right? So it's a big question. I mean, this is a huge question. I can't think of a bigger one, really, right? Because it really goes to your deepest heart, your soul, your moreness, what absolutely your end goal is that you wish to achieve and aspire to, right? Because aspirations are not ambitions. There's a very big difference, and we'll save that difference as it comes up later on to look at what precisely the difference is. Some do use them interchangeably, but there is a very big difference between an aspiration and an ambition, right? Especially in common usage as well. It's a very big and important thing to do. So wonderful. Bina, did you get connect with Janet? Does she know where we are?
Yes, she is watching.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Yes.
Okay. Good.
My
Brilliant.
personal idea. Okay,
Yeah.
my personal idea of this is I wrote that I think 2 years ago. So I just posted in the comment that somewhere in the perfect world, people do capital T trust each other without being naive. People love each other without being selfish, and remain alive without their ego riding them over.
Say that again, please, Bina.
Okay, I'm just reading from the comments. Okay, because I
Oh,
posted there. Yes.
oh.
Yes.
I thought you were sharing your personal noble ideal.
Mine.
Sorry.
No, this is my personal. This is my personal one, and I'm just reading it from the
Oh, I
comments
see.
because it's my
Oh.
2-year-old idea. So it is
Ah.
somewhere in the perfect world, people do trust each other without being naive. People love each other without being selfish and remain alive without their ego riding them over.
Wonderful, wonderful. And this is the basis, Bina, of what we're going to be talking about. Precisely. This culture where we don't have ego, because there's no comparison, there's no competition, there's no hierarchy. Right. And when that is, how do I compete with you, with Sher, with Janelle, with Lisa? How? Just how do I compete? There's no such thing. You can't compete with each other. You can't compare. You are all wonderfully, magically you. And when we accept us and we have this acceptance of us and know we are accepted in our environment, do you not accept everyone else? I know you do. I know Janelle does. I know Sher does. I know Lisa does. We all accept each other. There's no need for comparison. I don't have to promote myself. I'm already accepted. I don't have to say, look at me. I'm wonderful. I'm special. It's not necessary. You're already wonderful. We already love you. We already think you're marvelous. We know you're marvelous. Why? Because we pay attention to seeing each other's moreness. And we all have ridiculous moreness in us. And that moreness is our goodness. Tell me you don't have goodness. Any one of you? See? Silence. Silence. See? We all have goodness. How can you not celebrate and enjoy goodness? It's there in all of us, right? And all those who are in comments and joining and listening, you all have that. I see it. I feel it from you. In everything you do, it's there, right? If we just pay attention, we start to see that goodness and that moreness. It's in everybody. It's a profound thing, but it simply requires this habit, this practice. And this is what the story too is all about. It's an environment in which moreness and goodness is emphasized, focused on, and we learn all the skills that are needed to unhook from the old paradigm and shift to this new paradigm, right? It's a profound thing, right? This is too wonderful. This is too wonderful. All right, let's get back to the story. I love this. I love this. Oh, there's a couple more questions here. These questions I'm sharing because anybody watching the replay, you can stop and pause. And if you really want to do this as a course and a program, you can, of course, do so, right? And they're fun. They stir up and they connect to the underlying intent that I have with the story, right? Which is to bring out and connect to that moreness. What are the essential basics of the atavistic system referred to which needs replacing? In other words, the superiority paradigm. Atavistic system is me being, a little bit creative and in there to say, because an atavar, we know the word avatar, and it's kind of a little bit of a play on an atavar. An atavar is a representation of a previous primitive incarnation, right? So you could say, like if you have like your lizard form, that you say you're in a lizard being. You hear this on the internet a lot. Well, that would be an atavar, not avatar, but atavar, right? That's what it means. It's like a regressive previous incarnation version of you, right? So the atavistic system is basically, primitive, going back to that type of stuff. Share what all remains in your personal system, which you are intent upon replacing, and share the origins and roots of where such legacy beliefs and ideas come from. Again, if you really are serious about personal change and you want to shift into a new way of being, a new way of living, a new you, right, then this is a very powerful exercise. When you really start to pay attention to your intents that you need to replace and share the roots of your beliefs, right? Those legacy beliefs that of what is important. Like we were taught, you've got to win, you've got to be special, you've got to have status, blah, blah, blah. We were taught this as kids, right? Those are those legacy beliefs that I'm coming and I'm referring to. when we start to pay attention to it, say, oh my goodness, you're right. I still sort of think that that's important, but is it really? Well, no, actually not, right? I don't have to be king of the world or queen of the world. I don't have to be better than everyone. I don't have to have status. It's total myth. It's complete and utter myth. All right, very good to unhook from that and be aware of it. You need to be aware if you want to unhook. How do theoretical possibilities or even fantasies become useful and valuable in actuality? I won't even comment on that because this is what we're going to be doing here. It's a very, very powerful understanding to have. So I'm going to go to the end of this and then continue. All right, so under the guise of a project to settle the stars, the concept was further developed and extended. There's hope like never before. We're in the steep slope of an exponential curve, and from now on, almost anything is possible, not as hope, but as reality. The young man. This quote applies today to our day-to-day, right now. This applies. We're on a steep slope of an exponential curve, right? Kicking up, right? And from now on, almost anything is possible, not as hope, but as reality. Wow, look at that graphic, right? Great, great starships. Wow, that's pretty cool. That's very cool. The corporation, in their efforts to stimulate the sciences, held regular contests to showcase new innovations, concepts, and great ideas. They started by changing the format of the contests themselves. There would be no winners. This, they declared, was part of the problem, a foolish system which tended to waste all the brilliance of those participants who produced real value, but who did not win. They instead declared they would reward all excellence. They even rewarded excellent effort, which did not lead to an actual usable idea, but proved why something would not work. These were just as needed as those which did. They rewarded excellence in any way it came. Wow. The corporation handed out grants, funding and investment seed money, part of their overall business, funding new technologies, new ways of doing business, new ways to run corporations. It all worked together. The new corporations they funded and invested in took over the world of business. This campaign making the original investment company the most wealthy corporation by far. But the company initially did not have the resources to reward all the excellent ideas financially. Instead, using a masterstroke of inspirational genius, setting up their project as a long-term realistic plan and dream. The goal was to fulfill just exactly how this dream might be accomplished. Sending humanity out into the stars was presented seriously. The efforts they would be rewarding was anything which brought this ideal one step closer. The genius which caught the imagination of those of creativity and aspiration across the world was the primary reward, a place on the starships. This ignited passions. Most imagined such a selection would be determined by money, status, power, etc. But when it became clear, excellence in all its forms would be the only criteria, the understanding took hold that everyone had a chance, especially when it became known any efforts of goodness would also be rewarded in this way. As the project developed, individuals could be nominated by others simply by virtue of how they had lived their lives. Being selected to be a representative of humanity, a representation of goodness, effort, ingenuity, and other desirable qualities became a matter of peculiar, humble pride. Finally, those efforts, many deemed to be good and useful, but which were not usually rewarded in the material world, now were. The project took on a life of its own. Being rewarded with a place on the starships, being chosen, became the new standard of achievement, especially since it affected anyone in any sphere of life. So I love this idea, right? That anyone, that means you, Janelle, you, Bina, you, Lisa, you, Sher, everyone, you Norma, you Ramsey, you Janet, everyone, you Elizabeth, all of you, all of who are here, right? That any one of you, you all have this potential to be on the starships. You don't have to be a big brainiac or a genius or whatever. No, you have to be a good person. This is it. Have good character. And this you have, right? And this you can acquire more of. This is our continual learning. This is our continual path. This is our continual quest, right? And these are our aspirations to be our moreness. Yes. This is a very, very, very important point. And so this is really key that I want to emphasize. And it's part of the underlying logic and philosophy of the story, that everyone could be on those starships. Yes, can be a representation of humanity. Everyone I know, at least, yes, has this potential. And this is a very big deal. It's a very big deal. It changes how we think about what is like the best or the ideal. Yes, all of you to me represent that, because you're all marvelously wonderful, good people. Janelle, I'm keen to hear from you. Anything to share? Anything that comes up in you?
Hey, yes, I'm actually here with Ryan.
Hello. Brilliant. Yes, that's fine. I just see your picture, but I'm keen to hear from both of you. But since I asked you, what do you have to say? What do you have to say? What's coming up in you, Janelle? What are you thinking? What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? What's
Oh my
inspiring
goodness.
you?
I already have a page. I already have a page of notes. But one thing that
yes. Wonderful. Brilliant.
One thing that you said, and I don't even know what triggered this, but to receive moreness, life will cause one to let go of capital L lessness.
Yes. And yeah, I want you bring up a beautiful word. I have unfortunately come across this sometimes in my life, to my great sadness. I've spent my entire life working on myself, learning, growing, understanding things, paying attention to awareness, discernment, understanding, etc., right? So now, when people are stuck in the superiority paradigm, right? Because in the superiority, everything is hierarchy. There's this ladder, chicken mindset. Somebody's better than me, worse. In other words, there's this comparative mindset. Everything is being compared. So I come along and I share all my learning and my understandings, my being, my application. I don't mean learning in the academic sense, not that. Learning as in ways of being, right? And simply just the way I speak and communicate, which is maybe a little bit different to the usual, right? Now, for some people, unfortunately, stuck in the superiority paradigm comparison, they see this as moreness. Now, yes, it is a moreness, but unfortunately, because they're stuck in comparison, the very first thing they do is to compare themselves, and my moreness then makes them feel their lessness. It's my very last intent that I ever wish to do. I'd never ever want to do this, but it's happened. So you bring up a powerful concept to unhook from lessness, because as long as we do this, we're always going to be stuck there, right? Now, when in this environment, yes, my moreness does not compare with anybody else's. You don't compare your moreness to me. I don't compare your moreness to me. It's not a thought. It's not a conception. It's just an impossibility, right? It's like, you can't compare, I don't know, elephants and grapefruit. They're two different things, right? Everything has its own individuality. So it's not a factor, right? And because we are all celebrating each other's moreness, and we're paying attention to each other's moreness. We all have this moreness. Oh my goodness, you have so much moreness. You and Ryan, you have so much moreness. It's there, it's all over there. Now, can you personally connect to all of your moreness? That is the question. See, it's not about having the moreness, it's the ability to connect to it, to exercise that moreness, to be able to put it out, to be able to use it, right? To be able to personally enjoy it. This is the challenge. Not a challenge of acquiring moreness that's already there. Yes. Now, can we extend the moreness? Of course we can, right? Because there's always more. But this is why there's no comparison, because we already have that moreness. I have trained myself all my life to see that moreness in others. I have the skill, yes, but we can all develop the skill. I mean, I've just made a lot of effort to practice. I don't have anything special going on. I just work hard. I just pay a lot of attention. I'm thorough and diligent, and I make effort, right? So it's very important to understand this, right? I'm not saying this because I feel like, oh, I'm special. No, I really don't. I just make that effort, especially in terms of perspective shifting to multiple perspectives and thinking things through to the end. This is a very, very powerful point. All right, I have somebody who's at my door, so I have to go for a second. So I will leave you all to chat and discuss. Please, so you share some more about what you were saying. I'll still be on the headset here. Well, I better mute myself, otherwise you're going to hear me chatting to someone.
Very, very, very strong and very good point, Janet, as you mentioned that it is something really we need to pay attention. It's not only just to make our moreness accessible to us, but also to pay attention to the lessness. And this is very unfortunate, but this is how it is. Mostly we encounter people who automatically by default just went into this competitive mindset also. And they start comparing themselves like, okay, if you have this and what I'm coming from, where I have to give something more. That side of thing. That's so powerful, so powerful. So please elaborate a bit more. What do you want to share? Because you have full page of notes.
Okay, yeah, I was sharing, and another note that I wanted to discuss too was, there was a lot there, but just the excellence. Excellence is rewarded and not winning, and that's almost a foreign concept to just everyone as a whole. We're programmed to think, oh, if you win, that's the ultimate prize, but it's not. It's about excellence. And as Scylla's saying, seeing that moreness, everyone has this excellence within them. And we have to retrain the way we think about ourselves to develop and just to connect to that. So excellence being rewarded is really just that shift that we need to view it through a different perspective. I thought that was a very powerful statement.
Oh, it's a huge, huge, huge point, because if we just start looking at it, our childhood, and of course, now your children, you have children growing up. If just this idea, if we just change it to that rewards, connect the rewards to the excellence, not the winning and losing paradigm, it will prevent whole lot of traumas, childhood traumas, adults are dealing with. Because this is something we always suffer. So if we just transform only this idea can save and prevent a lot of childhood trauma, a lot of abuse, emotional and psychological abuse in our children's life. And of course, some adults will also recover, including us.
Right. And beyond the individual too, like, I was thinking of society at large, and, especially politics today. What a perfect example of what Janelle just said. Is it Janelle?
Yes, it's Janelle.
Yeah. So relevant today, isn't it? Especially in America.
Yeah. And then lastly, I just kind of along the same topic I keep hearing these words, pay attention. And that's something that we've heard ever since we've been born. Pay attention, look at what you're doing. But we don't, it has like a new meaning to it now. When you pay for something, there's a price to it. And just pay, what are you paying for that? So it's going to require something. And yes, thank you. Yep. Ryan, please chime in. Ryan's here. But the energy, the focus, you're paying for something, and it's so important. And we don't look at energy as currency.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, but when
you're
when you're giving something your attention, or someone,
you're
actually, you're giving
to
them. You're paying a price for focusing on them. So really just listening. So the act of like listening to someone you're giving to
Yes.
them.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
sharing with them.
Yes.
Yes.
Just by listening
Capital
to them.
H
And that's
hearing especially.
capital
Yes.
H hearing.
There, yes.
And that's why one of my notes from a couple of years ago was you'll become wealthy through sharing, which
Yes.
is just through
Yes.
listening.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So
Yes. Very powerful.
yeah, because it's an
Very
investment.
powerful.
Listening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. It
That's
is
just
an
my
investment.
thing.
Exactly. This is the
Yeah.
magic. This is the magic of the story and this concept, this ideal that I'm sharing is precisely this, that through sharing, we add, we extend, we grow. It's the most incredible thing. And it's so completely opposite to what we've been taught, right? Just put out there, share,
Listening,
and you get
sharing.
more, right? And just by hearing and listening, you not only acquire for yourself, but you add to the other. This is a profound thing. Without doing things which presume you know what's good for them, without being inadvertently arrogant. In other words, we don't mean to be, but sometimes we try and do good things for other people. We're inadvertently arrogant, right? Because we're assuming and presuming what we think is good for them. But simply by hearing you, this is a profound thing. By listening to you, I add to you without actually doing something specific. This is a profound magic. This is a really, really incredible point. Really, really cool. Very, very cool. Too wonderful. Too wonderful.
I just want to add.
Please.
I just want to
I
add
love
something
this.
really quick to that.
Love this.
When you listen to someone's having a problem, they can't figure it out, and you simply listen. You don't have to say anything. You listen. Maybe ask one question, but you basically listen. They come to the conclusion and they thank you for it. And you literally did nothing but listen. It's amazing how this whole process works because they knew the answer the whole time. They just had to navigate through the chaos in their mind. And by you listening and having peace of mind and
well, it's interesting.
Oh, go ahead.
Like Sil said, practicing like seeing other people a specific way, not through competition. So it's not just anyone can listen and that person have their problem solved.
Well, right.
But the person who is seeing that person the way that they should be, when you're listening to them, all you're doing is you're acting like a mirror, and that person is seeing themselves the way you're seeing them. And they're like, oh. And so they're seeing themselves in you the way that you're seeing them. You know what I mean? It's like a reflection. And so once they see themselves the way they're supposed to
There's
be,
the answer.
Yes.
That's it.
And also,
so all it is recognizing who you are.
Yes, and also to see the difference, the magical difference.
Yes.
This is diversity, as Elizabeth said. And Ramsey brought up a very powerful point that I want to emphasize. But I wanted to say, Emil said, very happy that you're here. Wonderful, wonderful. Glad you're here. So hello. But also to Ramsey said, humbleness, humility, yes, is a key component of nobility, of moreness. Absolutely. How can we absolutely have anything other than humility when we keep the universe in mind? It's just foolish. I mean, compared to the universe, we are 0.000001, and maybe somebody else has one or more zeros, more or less. Big deal. That difference is negligible. So comparison becomes idiotic when you compare to the universe. So we throw that out. And this is our humility, to understand compared to the universe, we are nothing. However, Biella will say, she'll say, all of you, Janelle, Bina, Lisa, everybody in groups, right? She'll say, compared to nothing, you are something. Compared to the universe, you may be nothing, yes, but compared to nothing, you are something. So simply because we are essentially nothing compared to the universe doesn't mean we are actually nothing, because compared to zero, to real nothing, we are way more than absolute nothing, yes? So we are a something and we're a nothing all at the same time. This is essential and inherent in our capital H, humility. Yes, so that we don't say, well, I'm a nothing, I'm hopeless, I'm useless. No, that's not humility. That's defeatism. That's hopelessness. That's giving up. That's laziness for the most part. No, we are saying we are something, but we don't going to go and get our egos overboard. In other words, our something says we have reverence for ourselves, right? We appreciate ourselves. We say that what we are is a moreness, is a magic, but we don't run away with it. Because if we say that's all there is to it, then we'll never learn. And we'll just get stuck where we're at. Yes, we may be a lot, but that doesn't mean that there's a lot more to learn and grow into. Yes, so we have this profound, exquisite balance of understanding. Yes, very important. Very, very important. Yeah, makes sense? Yeah, everyone? No one saying? Wonderful. Well, any comments before I continue?
Yes. Oh, yes.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. It's wonderful. It's a big point that I made there. This is a massive, great big point, right? There's nothing compared to the universe, but something compared to nothing. I love the play on words too. It's very, very cool and very powerful. So to share a few more of these questions here, because I love how you guys just took that question and ran with it. And this, I was thinking about it while I had a customer come. So very, very nice fellow. So thank you, customer. I don't know if he's on listening, but in case, I always like to appreciate, but I was thinking about this, and I didn't realize that I'd written it here. But I said, I'm surprised nobody's asked yet, this key question that you guys were speaking about, excellence, right? And that this is a different paradigm rather than, more or less winning all this other stuff comparison, just excellence. But how would you determine excellence? It's a lovely question to sit and think of and ponder, right? What exactly is excellence? It's a tricky question. It's a very tricky question. If you were in charge of sorting through nominations for who would be on the starships, what criteria would you use for selection? What do you think is important for a community besides specific skills? Now, obviously, when you go out there, medical skills, engineering skills, scientific skills, technical skills, all mechanical skills, these are all important. But those can be learned by everybody. And we'll get into this as the story goes a little bit further. But still, those aren't the only skills, because you've all met the complete jackass scientist or a doctor who's maybe a good doctor. I know personally in my family someone like this, an excellent doctor, but a non-excellent person. Yeah. So those two don't go together, right? Specific skills. And to me, if you're going to have a community and a project, the skills are important, yes, but what's more important is character. Yes, because your community is very soon going to go downhill if you have a whole community of people full of skills but with no character. Yes, we have to be important what we emphasize. So this is a good question. When you think I'm going to put together, right? Let's say I put you in charge. I say, right, here you go, Janelle, you're in charge of nominations, right? The criteria for nominations, not nominating itself, but the criteria. You've got to come up with what the criteria for nomination is. The big deal. The big deal. Makes one think. It really, really makes one think. What is important? Yes. What is important?
Yeah. The first thing that comes to my mind, if I could just share, for excellence is, I mean, if I was a judge in this, who would be able to connect to their value the best, because we're all valuable, but the one that's able to see it and connect to it,
connecting to moreness.
Yes,
right?
to connect to their moreness.
The ability.
Exactly right.
That would be the excellence. I would think.
Yes.
And then you ask yourself, well, what is valuable? What is worth? Then it goes into more questions.
Yeah, you need a definition.
Now you need a definition of that.
Exactly. And you want a definition that is not closed and tight, but open, that can grow and evolve, right? And all of our definitions are really extended understandings, because the moment you define, you tend to box and limit. Now, yes, in science, that's necessary sometimes, but in what we're doing, we want to leave it open, because we know we don't have all the answers. And if we don't make space for evolution and growth and adding, then you get stuck, right? And that's very important to not get stuck. Very, very important. Lisa, I have a question for you here, the next one. How would you define efforts to goodness in the here and now in your life and world? I know all these questions are typically very large questions, but I think this is one that we can answer. So if you have something there, share. If not, we'll continue with the story. Because it is a big question. I don't mean to put you on the spot. So I'm giving you the option to respond or not respond. But I just thought this was, I'm just keen to hear from you, Lisa. Yeah, that's all.
Kind of bad timing because I've
Oh,
got
gotcha.
something happening here, but I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah, Cher's back again. So I love this. I love this that we go and come. And I love this too. And let me make this very, very abundantly clear that if you come and join us on Zoom, you can come and go like Cher and Lisa are. It's absolutely not a problem. This is a free, open thing. We celebrate, we enjoy. There's no hassles, there's no limitations. It's all fun. Right? That's pretty cool. So this defining efforts to goodness. This is a big point. When I first thought about this, I said, I know people, for instance, that have gone to work every single day of their lives for 50 years, supporting their family, even the larger community, right? Never a word of complaint, never a word of needing to say, look, thank me, praise me, whatever. They just did it because it was the right thing to do. And they took great joy and pride in what they do, right? And they were happy. They didn't go and make a big effort of it. They just did it, right? Salt of the earth people, sometimes they called, right? Now, you maybe know people like that. To me, those are people who are part of the entire environment. Yes. There's nothing special about them. They might have a very basic job and very simple people. They'll tell you, I'm very simple. I don't know anything. I don't even read books or whatever. That doesn't matter. They have that deep goodness. You see what I mean? This is what I'm trying to say. Efforts to goodness. They all have a part. Yes, okay, you're going
Okay,
to
I'm
need
back.
you're going to need others, that have technical skills and all this. You need the whole range of humanity. But what you especially need as a consistent is this effort to goodness, right? Why are you doing what you're doing? What is your intent, right? Your deeper intent. Brilliant, Lisa. Brilliant. All right, I'm going to continue with the story, right? Yeah. And every time we start with these quotes, I love these quotes, and just with the quotes, they connect us to moreness, to the ineffable, to that larger overall grander vision and thing, right? So the quotes are very powerful. All right. I'll extrapolate your expectations and I'll commandeer your considerations, all to assimilate your aspirations from how do I know thee? A little snippet of moreness. The corporation had from the start outlined the impossibility of the challenge. The project, according to what was known then, had no realistic chance of success, not technologically, not even ideologically. The challenge from the beginning, a challenge of conquering the unknown, of overcoming the impossibility and creating the possible. To encourage this mindset, they simply pointed to the abundant impossibility present in life at that time, compared to even a recent past. I'll jump a little bit in the story here just think in our lives right now. All of us here are old enough to know of a time before smartphones, because they're 20 years, they're this century, right? Smartphones is a this century thing. Yeah. So you go back, more than 20 years and smartphones were an impossibility. It didn't exist. Yes. So there's so much. Our whole lives are surrounded by impossibility all of the time. Who would have thought COVID was a possibility? Yeah. See, impossibility can come in many forms. My point is we have this experience of the impossible becoming possible. So if it can happen once, it can happen twice. That's the key point here. Yes. I'm hearing somebody's noise over there.
Okay. Still, Brenda is asking for the link in
Oh.
the community chat.
Oh, please. You have the link, Andy, or not?
Yes.
Please, will you put it there?
Okay.
Please. That's wonderful.
Okay.
Oh, I'd love to have Brenda on. Yeah, wonderful. All right. So this concept, right? This page, I'm going to pause here because I'm keen for Brenda to come and catch up. That this understanding the underlying of pressure or I guess energy, not pressure, the energy of this project that they put out, this competition for where they're rewarding excellence, it is to the underlying idea is to say impossibility. We're going to take impossibility as a challenge, not as a block. It's a very big difference, right? To see impossibility as a challenge. Wow. So we know this right now. If we were to say to go out into another galaxy, you can only travel the fastest speed of light is the maximum, but it's not realistically attainable, because the closer you get to the speed of light, the greater your gravity becomes, right? That's why you always hear this. You can't actually travel at the speed of light. You have to have no mass, right? So there's a technological, very specific issue that limits this. So if you're in a galaxy that's 1,000 light years away, and you can travel at best maybe 90% of the speed of light, it's still going to take you 1,000 years to get there. So yes, technically it's possible. You can build those generation ships and all this, but it's not feasible, right? So this is what we're looking at here, is the feasibility to make this real, right? And so as we go through the story, and many things though, all the different technologies, the different cultures, the different ideologies, the different philosophies, the different psychologies, all of that would be needed to make this thing happen, right? So this is what this whole project is all about, changing the way we think and consider things. Yes. Bina, did Brenda get sorted? Bina? Oh, Bina must be concentrating.
Yes, I just messaged her, so I'll
Okay.
see.
Okay. Did you put the link in that CCC chat? You can put it there, because there may be others that want to come. All right, brilliant. Okay.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Okay, I'll continue. So this to consider what is impossible now, even according to the recent past, is a big deal. And for those of us who've been around a little longer, I remember when television and color television, they came a bit later where I was in there, right? Things like this. Now, yes, in America, most people grew up with TV, so it's not a new thing, but it is new to the world relatively, right? So many things that we consider impossible were just not around, right? You go back 100 years and all of it was impossible. Yeah? So it's very powerful, this idea of impossibility. No one could deny the logic that the impossible could indeed be made possible. The world's imagination was set ablaze with this dream. The New Beginnings Project, as it was soon known, became an institution of the world. It didn't matter that there was no end in sight. The advantages and progress of bringing the project ever closer were decidedly real. With each yearly announcement of those awarded a place on the eventual starships, the dream came ever nearer. The advancements, however, were very real indeed. Each year, the company seeded a fresh round of new companies with fresh sciences, both hard and soft, with fresh conceptions and ideals, fresh new ways of doing business with which to benefit the world, since all these new corporations were started as benefit corporations, furthering business through benefiting the world. Many impossibilities came into being, like corporations where our employees love to work. We all benefited and participated in the financial rewards. Impossibilities such as corporate cultures founded on collaboration instead of competition all came into being. Very big deal. Technological wonders previously thought impossible became reality. But the grand impossibility, that of conquering the seemingly immutable laws of science, particularly relativity, those remained elusive. Many alternative ideas proposed and explored. After all, writers and dreamers had long been busy imagining and propagating such imaginings. But then, only a few decades after the origin of this dream idea, of the original noble ideal and conception that started it all, the truly impossible did happen. A way to traverse the enormity of space was found. A means to travel realistically to other galaxies was discovered. It still involved substantial time, but not insurmountable by any means. All right, so I want to comment on the story here with the corporate angle, right? The corporate angle in today's world Back in the day, you go back, even when I was a child, the church dominated and ruled everything. Now, at least where I grew up in South Africa, right? The church was very predominant. Even politics was preached in the church, and that's how that whole system came about, because poor, unfortunate, good people were following what they were being manipulated via the churches. Now, it's a real sad situation there. It's not something against the religion itself. It's against those who manipulated religion, right? So the religion itself is not the issue, the manipulation of it is. But likewise, what I'm saying is, in today's world, though, the major influences in our lives, unfortunately, is shifted from the church to corporate. Now, that isn't always a negative thing. Some corporates, they are propagating concepts such as, working hard, being diligent, being honest, etc., right? But they also propagate competition and stuff like that. So this is brilliant. Brenda, hello. I'm glad you're joining us. I'm glad you're joining us. So we are halfway through the start of the story here, and I'm sharing that the stories involving this corporation that set up this grand challenge that everybody could join, where they're saying, look, the idea is we are going to set this project in motion of seeding the stars, in other words, sending humanity out into another galaxy to start all over again. And they starting this they basically started it initially as a PR project, but then it really takes off and it goes crazy and everybody gets involved. And then they said, look, we know it's an impossible project, but we're going to treat it as real. And we are going to reward any excellence of anybody who contributes in terms of anything that brings this ideal, this idea, this aspiration closer into reality. And both in technical terms, in the hard sciences, but also in the soft sciences, particularly those in terms of the psychology, the ideology, the philosophies that we would need, the spirituality we would need if we were go out and we're going to start all over again as humanity. So we can avoid all of the mistakes that humanity had to go through and learn the hard way, right? So I was just saying also that it starts with the corporation. Now, a lot of people are a bit anti-corporate, but I'm making the point that corporate is a big influence in our day-to-day, and they have the resources to be potentially really influential. Now, this particular corporation, of course, they have really profound psychology and philosophy, and they're very spiritual because they're a benefit corporation. They're not there to make money, they're there to benefit the world, and they do so via bringing that. So making money, benefiting, all connected together, right? But it's productivity and it's value. So I just wanted to mention this as a by the by, that it's not necessarily pushing corporate and all that. No, it's just to be practical. Yes. So it's an organization. Any NGO or big charity is a corporation, right? Same thing. It's an organization, right? And it has some structure that enables it to actually do things. So the questions we come to here, when it comes to inspiring through ideas and ideals, what are the deeper considerations? What makes a difference, motivates, and captures the imagination from an overview perspective and in the abstract, right? So for you guys, right, what inspires you and in ideals, right? What makes a difference to you? What motivates and captures your imagination from an overview perspective and in the abstract? Again, I'm sharing these questions to catch you up a bit, Brenda, and they are part of this to make us think. Now, to actually answer them, sometimes we get into it a little bit, but it's more longer term, just to bring these different perspectives. Now, of course, if somebody does want to go into detail, they're more than welcome. We can go over that. Especially they can come on Zoom during the week, and I'll be more than happy to go over it if somebody does, write them out in detail. That would be really awesome. But it's just good to connect to the underlying implications and on all of those connections that are involved in the story. What impossibilities in your life have become possible, personally and in general? And this is a question I do want to ask. So, Brenda, since you've just joined us, I'll just start with you. I'll ask you, what impossibilities in your life have become possible, personally and in general? Anything? If not, no worries. I'll jump on someone else, but feel free.
Yeah, jump to someone else for now.
All right. So let me
Haven't thought
ask
about it.
Sher then, because I know for sure, right? She just made a post just the other day, right? Sher, as you are now, is an impossibility according to way back when, right, Sher?
Yes, absolutely. let me see. But let's just start with the obvious, the external, which is my weight. I thought that I could never lose weight, and I'm doing that.
Exactly.
I thought that I couldn't exercise again, and I'm doing that. I thought that I
Exactly.
could never like myself, and I'm doing that.
Say that again,
So
please. Say that again, please.
I thought I could never like myself, but
I
I am
thought.
doing that. And yeah, I thought I could never. And you know, I just never imagined that I would ever be able to like anything about me, let alone discover moreness, unknown
Yes.
things about
Enjoy.
me. Every day I
Enjoy.
find something
Enjoy.
else that's good. So yeah.
Yeah.
However, I also learned that, like I mentioned in the comments, that it, in part it's because of hearing with humility, with that understanding that even though I'm aware and learning and I'm growing, that I must always remember that, you know, these are gifts, to be humble about them and to know that I never am going to know it all. I can just continue to
Exactly.
understand.
Exactly.
So,
And you don't need to know it all, because you've come to a point where you like yourself. And it's
Yeah.
not out of arrogance, it's out of honesty. Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
What
There's
an
there's a
incredible point to
great
make.
big difference.
Great big
There's a
difference.
great big difference. And I know
And
sometimes one of my children even mentioned, they're like, gee, mom, you're doing a lot of videos and selfies. And it's like, you know what? It's because I never wanted to see myself. It's still kind of tough to look in the mirror, but you know what? Making a video is a little different because there's that barrier, there's a buffer there, and it's making it a little bit more acceptable. So whatever you can do, whatever it is that it takes to start liking yourself, to me, that's the most important thing.
Yeah. That's incredible. That's incredible. And that's exactly what I'm talking about here, right? The impossible becoming possible. It's not just technologically. Yes, there may be things, but we sort of accept technology, new things. But this impossibility that Cher's talking about, the impossibility, just never imagined that she could like herself. And what a profound, profound thing to say. And Cher's not the only one who's been in that situation or is in that situation, but to realize that this is not actually any possibility, no matter how much you may feel it or believe it, is a profound thing. And to have demonstration of that impossibility becoming possible, this is a profound thing. It's a profound, profound, profound thing, right? So this is too fantastic. Thank you, sir. That's really huge. And it's what this whole story is about, to say that we can access what we don't think we can. We can become that moreness. We can become that exquisiteness. We can learn to apply that exquisiteness, which if you go back to the very first live I did, it was this whole big Moreness-Project is about bringing exquisiteness of being into our daily lives, right? So to connect to liking ourselves, that's one thing, but to exercise exquisiteness of being, that's quite another thing, right? It's going to a whole different level. So this is a very profound, profound point. So I'm going to skip some of these other questions because I want to continue with the story, but just this one I'll quickly touch on, just something to answer later. Do you think or feel a new beginnings project is something which would have appeal in today's world? And how does it connect to you? If it were announced today as something actually for real, would you want to go make a new beginning? Would you actually go if you could, right? If there was this, like if this corporation that I'm imagining starts up today, right? And well, it would be called the New Nobility Corporation. And they say, hey, we're announcing this project, this new beginnings project of going out into the stars, right? And we're going to reward anybody who contributes to it and adds to it, and et cetera, right? All the things that came up to now. I'm just catching up Brenda a little bit, right? But do you think that this is something that could take hold in today's world? I personally really do think if like a Fortune 500 company would say, hey, we're doing this for real. You know, we're going to put out this project and we're going to start. We know it's impossible, but doesn't matter. We're going to fund it and we're going to reward those who contribute towards. We're going to reward excellence, et cetera, et cetera. If they did it in the way described, I think it would really take off. I think it would be a huge deal. So anyway, I'm keen to hear you guys' thoughts on this a bit later, right? As you hear more about it, right? So, and again, that's a big question at the end. How do you imagine this world now improving? That's a very tough question. All right, let's continue. I want to be more than I currently am. I am my aspirations. I am what I am not yet. That's why, for me, the focus is on application. The young man. Wow. Let me read that again. I want to be more than I currently am. I am my aspirations. I am what I am not yet. That's why the focus is on application for me, the young man. Wow. Wow, that's a cool quote. Thus, the New Beginnings project started a new phase, the actual construction of the Starship. No small project. By this time, fortunately, the original corporation was wealthier than most governments and had become a de facto world government because of their radically different way of doing business and the proof they constantly delivered of truly being different and of having the people's interest at heart. They became far more trusted than most of the conventional authority. So just before you came, Brenda, the slide before that was the impossible actually happened. Somebody within this particular corporation discovered the great gravity engines, right? And so the impossible became possible, right? So now this project going from this ideal, this aspiration, which nonetheless stimulates real value in the real world, now actually suddenly is shifting to, whoa, this is actually happening. This is a real deal. So now we get to get the exciting part of it, right? Which all worked out well. By the time the actual construction of the starships began, the legacy governments, large or small, had to adapt and get with the program by popular demand. No country wanted to be left out because by that time, the number who had been rewarded with a seat on the starships numbered in the millions. The corporations decided to build a fleet of 1,000 ships, each ship accommodating thousands of seeders, a nice round number of ships, even if it proved to be an ill prophetic choice. Thus, the project began in earnest, governments now donating to the project, since they were overwhelmingly prohibited from participating by their constituents. The public had come to realize that if the dream was to be truly fulfilled, then it had to be accomplished by those seeders who represented the noble ideal, no matter in which of its various multitudinous forms. Those on board would not necessarily represent the best of humanity in the conventional idea, as for instance, the smartest or the most successful or best looking, famous, rich, or other such flawed criteria. No, instead, they represented a vast cross-section. Many included simply souls who were just solid, good people. Very important. Good character was consistently rewarded. From the start, not luck of birth or circumstance, if such luck was involved. It was how it was utilized and made the most of. Those talented individuals who produced actual real value, but did not represent good character, they somehow never seemed to be rewarded with selection. This from the very start was known. Faking good character, also not a solution. All winners of a spot on the starships had to be approved by their peers anonymously. As a result, the entire lives of individuals came under scrutiny as never before. Perhaps we choose it all before we are born, but we choose according to a criteria that is deeper than the tendencies of the ego, that is deeper than the aspects of the personality, that extends the characteristics of our character. We chose our lives according to what we truly need, what we need in the eternal us. Qualities that last, qualities that make a difference, that add to us, regardless of which particular existence we may find ourselves in. We chose a life and circumstances geared to assisting us to learn that which we, the individual, so intimately needs and desires. Each life is precisely attuned to this. We, in fact, live in a perfect environment for the cultivation and acquisition of these deep qualities. All we have to do is realize this is so. Once we do, well, then life is easy. From The Seeds of Goodness, a Biella series book. I love this quote. It's a very profound quote. Now, yes, it's hypothetical, but it's a hypothetical that we can utilize to get real value out, whether it's true or not. Yes, we can imagine this to be so, and simply that imagining gives value. So it's a big deal because it applies to the project and to the underlying philosophy and the ideal that we can get value out of something which may or may not be so. Yeah, which is the entire project here, the entire story. We're looking to get value out of what could be, might be, yes, and what we'd like to be. Real change, as in overcoming one's foolishness, was recognized and rewarded. Part of the contest involved finding ways in which to select the winners, ways to identify and reward those who truly did represent the ideal and would thus see the future of humanity. Fantastic new methods for identifying genuineness and value developed, the corporation benefiting massively in its hiring practices. For those of you eagle-eyed will notice that there needs to be a correction here, right? That word winners, I need to change that, right? It's meant to be in inverted commas, but I think I'm going to just those in which to select the participants or the seeders or something like that, right? Want to remove this whole logic of winning. It's very corruptive psychology and philosophy, right? We tend to use it so thoughtlessly. That's a big deal. No age limit, one of the rules which greatly contributed to the popularity of the project. As long as someone was in general good health, capable of space travel, they were free to participate. They simply needed to be able to survive the trip and a reasonable expectation of even only a few years on the other end. Each ship would be a community. As such, the full range of contributing individuals was necessary. Not even hereditary diseases were excluded. The concept originator had said these would simply be another of the seeming impossibilities which would be overcome in time. All right. So just some thoughts and ideas just of what's bubbling up in you guys. Bina, anything to share?
For me, this whole idea of excellence, as Janelle mentioned, that was really life transforming. And the second thing, that when we are reading this story and we are reading about like how these impossible can be possible, just practicing this idea, like really deliberately thinking about that, what is impossible? First, of course, it's a good mechanism to be more appreciative, to really acknowledge what really happened, already happened in our life, what we have achieved, what we have acquired. This is so profound, this exercise. And the second thing, think about the impossible. This actually expand your mind. This actually expand your thought process. That, okay, yes, if I have to think about something which seems impossible right now, that could be possible. Like right now, we are living in the age of miracles. Everything right now, we are just taking for granted every day in our life, like using smartphones, like using AI. It's impossible. Just 10 years ago, not hundreds and thousand years ago. 10 years ago, it was impossible to think like that. We are using it like, okay, yeah, like duh. Things are becoming duh in our life, which were really, really impossible. And for people who were in like 100 years ago, that would be magic. Magic, how this would be possible. So we are living in the age of miracle. We are living and experiencing the impossible. So if we can right now, why not more? That's the whole idea. To have this understanding, have trust in the moreness. So what was impossible before and not now, that would be the same for everything. Whatever we are assuming impossible is not going to be impossible. And this alone, this idea of having this understanding can transform our whole life pattern, our whole self-talk. Because self-talk mostly are, oh, I cannot do this. Okay, this cannot happen to me. This is impossible, and all sort of things. When we experience that, when we pay attention to, everything is possible. Transform our self-talk.
I love it. I love it. Hello, Jessica. Hello, George. I love it that you guys are here. Yes. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Most wonderful. There are some profound comments. I really recommend at some point reading through the comments, and afterwards I will go and respond to them. They stimulate me. And if you look at last week's ones, it's like, man, there were like little mini books written there by sometimes. It was fantastic, right? So the comments are a profound big deal. This point of this age of impossibility. We see it in technology and science, engineering, all these things. But we need to pay attention and say that same curve of learning and growth, this can be applied to spirituality, to philosophy, to our grand ideals, especially. If we put that same energy into the advancement and the development of ideologies, philosophies, psychology, spiritualities, now you're going to get a whole other exponential curve of moreness, right? And things that we didn't think
Yeah.
possible psychologically, this would jump. Yes, Lisa?
Yes, in fact, that was my line of thought prior to you just coming in with it, was when, listening to Bina's, conversation about the technology aspect, and of it, and how it would have seemed like magic, not all that long ago today.
Exactly.
I was thinking also, like right now, like any technology, it's kind of being misused and abused because it can be. But as we mature and as we settle in, we're going to be using it and seeing it in ways that can expand our spirituality, like you're doing right now. And I was thinking about, I have been through your whole presentation here, just thinking about just how magical it feels within for me, to just be sitting here and being one of several people who are intently listening to what you're saying and reading the words on the screen. The combination of knowing that there are others in this conversation around us has this spiritual connection to it. It's like
Exactly.
it's like being a part of the story. We are a part of the story by being here listening to you right now.
Yes.
You are, Lisa. You are. All of you are. This is exactly what I wish to communicate. I'm going to repeat this point over and over and over. I am not looking for anybody to follow my ideology, follow my philosophies, no, or my ideas. No, don't buy in or subscribe to it. I'm asking to be part of a community of sharing, of collaboration. You absolutely are a part of the story. And as the story goes on, at least in book 2, book 3, all right, book 3 is mostly written now, but later on in the books, this collaborativeness of the book, and you'll see in this story, there are, when I was writing it, I had people come in and, they became characters in the story, right? So to me, this is how I really literally like to write stories, is to incorporate. So I've done this
So
before. It's a profound thing. Go ahead, Bina. Go ahead. It's a magical
Brenda has her hand raised for quite
Please.
long
Oh, I
now.
didn't see. It's not showing for me. Oh, sorry, Brenda. Sorry, I can't see it. Oh, there it is. Your background. All right, my eyes. Sorry.
Yeah,
Go
the
ahead. I'm listening.
background covers it
Please,
up.
please share, Brenda. I love that you're here, Brenda. I love it that you're here. So I'm really keen to hear. Please share.
Yeah, I'm a huge Star Trek fan, so I love that everything that comes on TV is somebody's idea, somebody's dream, somebody's impossibility, and then they put it on TV, everybody loves it, and then some engineer out there goes, I can do that. The phones, the flip phones, they were the original Star Trek, right? And some engineer went, oh my God, I think I can do this. And I think we get these ideas from a collective consciousness of the earth. How I see it is we're all perceptive and we can all hear the thoughts that are going on out there, but people are not tuned in. So it's almost like a submarine coming up and putting up its periscope. So if I put up my periscope and you put up your periscope, Cher puts up her periscope, we can all collect into what's going on out there. And then we all go, I got an idea. And then it just goes boom, 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 boom. And it goes tripled, quadrupled. My shaman, I did energy healing with a shaman back in 2008, for 2 years, and then again in 2011 for 2 years. And he told so many stories. And one of them are these monkeys that are on an island somewhere around New Zealand or something like that. And one monkey goes down to the water and starts washing his fruit in the water. And
Japan.
another monkey looks at it and says, thinks like, what's he doing? And another monkey looks at it. So they all start washing their fruit in the water. And an island far away where the people, the monkeys can't see, the island far away, they find that these monkeys start washing it. So it's a collective, and the monkeys
Yes.
collective
Consciousness.
consciousness that
Yes.
that it picked up on that. So that's a community, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
and
Yes.
that's like
Yes.
that sort of Star Trek far-fetched. It's
Right.
only a TV show. No, it's not. It's a
Right,
cedar,
right.
really.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And if we look a little bit deeper into Star Trek, and since you're a Star Trek fan, Brenda, remind me when at some point I'll share a profound story with you about Star Trek, right? And personal mythology. It's a very big deal, right? Anyway, it's going on to develop our own personal mythologies. And in this case, it's me ending up on the Enterprise, right? And I have a whole rationale and a logic to get there. It's a fun story. But that story that you're referencing, by the way, for anybody who wants to look it up, it's called the 100th Monkey Effect. And the original
Yes.
monkey was in Japan, and it went from there. The key was not
Okay.
that the monkey got the other monkeys in the tribe to follow it, but when it got to the 100th monkey doing this, then it started to happen with other monkeys elsewhere. That was the
Yes.
magic of that story. So it's very powerful thing that changes the paradigm of how we understand change to happen.
Exactly.
Yes.
It changed the consciousness and everything. Yeah.
Exactly.
And you
Exactly.
know, an interesting thing, when my ex and I moved into an apartment building, we were on the 17th floor and we were at 1701. 1701. We wanted to put, you know, you get those little plastic things that you could put on your mailbox or something to put your name. We wanted to put NCC in front of it because that's the call
The
sign of
number.
Star Trek was
Yes.
NCC 1701. So we wanted
I
to,
was just going to
wanted to
say,
put that
here
on
you
our
go.
door. We thought we'd get in trouble. I
That's
should have done it
perfect.
anyways. Even if
That's
I use
perfect.
double-sided
That's perfect.
tape, I should have just bought it.
That's perfect. Yeah.
1701-A.
Right. So I've got to share that story of the personal
Yes.
myth of going on. I've become the ship's philosopher, right? This is the whole deal, and then the crime directive, the prime directive ends up to be the crime. Anyway, let me not go into that rabbit hole. It's a fun story. I just want to entice you a little bit. But what you're saying here, and us being part of this, and particularly with Star Trek, I want to say we tend to focus on the technology a little bit. And yes, you can go and Google it, and Star Trek technology that's become real. There's plenty of it. That's a fantastic. There's actually a TV series on this, right? And it's a very cool TV series. But I want to rather focus on the philosophical, ideological, spiritual, psychological concepts that they have, right? I mean, in Star Trek, they're not working for money, right?
Yeah, no
but
poverty,
they're
no
not
money.
right. Right, but I mean,
Yeah.
all those people who are on the Enterprise, they're not there because of money. They're there because of ideology. Right? This is a very profound understanding, and it's a little bit downplayed in the series. People don't see that. But in this story, the technology takes a secondary effect here. The spiritual, the ideological, the ideal, psychological, all of this is what makes the things and the application of that, right? Because you can't have a community founded on ideals if you don't have the tools for the application of those ideals. Then you're going nowhere, right? You might have like saying, well, we're going to build a fancy palace, but we've got no hammers and saws and screwdrivers, right? That's no good, right? So we have to have the tools, and this story is about showing those tools. Now, the part that we're in now, the space and the technology and all the seeding project, this is the prologue, right? When we're going to jump at the end of this prologue, we're going to jump a few hundred years, a few centuries into the future, many centuries, and we're going to get to the actual planet where this is applying, right? We're going to get to Nobelia. So we are definitely going to get to that application, and when we start to meet Biella herself, we're going to see those tools in practice, in application via Biella. So this is, to me, very important to demonstrate application. Otherwise, we end up going nowhere, right? Have to make it real. All right. So let's continue with the story. I love this. That's very cool, Brenda. We're actually at the end of it now. So brilliant. All right. So we'll go through some of these end tasks and exercise of this, and the timing is good too. So I broke up this the story into, like this prologue, into 3 parts because it's too long. Otherwise, it just happened to be that it's kind of nicely working out for the lives. But when I set it up as a course, because this, of course, is set up as this big course, big program. But I'm just sharing it because it's kind of a cool way to do it, and there's a lot of moreness involved. So we came to the end there, and I want to go over some of the tasks and exercises. Because these questions are really cool. They make us think, and I love this thinking, right? So if you were to put together a community of seeders, like you'd be putting it together just for you personally, would all the people currently in your life represent who you'd like to have in such a community? That's a very cool question, right? Brenda, I hear you there. And the fact that we say no is something to pay attention to. Unfortunately, we end up in circumstances, just because of how life is, that we aren't always in the communities that we would like to be, right? But does that mean it has to be so? No. Because of this radical paradigm shift of the internet, we can shift our community. Right now, I'm in a community who I would like to be in, right? So if I just say, all right, if we're going to make a starship and just, to take this community right here, right now, and those in chat as well, would this be a community I'd be happy to be on if we were the only ones in a little small starship? Yes. See, that's a profound thing to be able to say yes to that. That's a very, very big deal, right? So think about this in your own lives and then say, do I need to change? Do I need to change? Do I need to change my community? Sometimes that question is a very big yes, a very big hell yes. Yeah, very big deal.
Is it change or expand?
Both being some depends on the individual, right? I mean, I know people who have been in communities that are just, sorry, they just struggle, they suffer, they totally unaccepted, they discriminate against, they bullied, etc., etc. See what I mean? So I'm extending the whole range, Bina. Yes, so some of it is change, radical change, some of it is addition, some of it is, okay, you can leave the people in there, but you can bring in a whole big influx of more, and those, the ones that are, they don't become an issue because they just, there's many more that you want to have. So yes, change, addition, all sorts of variations possible. Absolutely, Bina. Absolutely. If a corporation such as the New Nobility Corporation existed today, what would be the factors which would try to work against it, try to destroy it? I think this is a cool question to ask because, of course, the superiority paradigm wants to maintain itself because that's the logic of the superiority paradigm. Anything that potentially threatens it has to be fought against. Whether the thing is an improvement or not doesn't matter. It's a foolish logic, unfortunately. So it's a good thing to be aware of, because should such a corporation want to actually start and be real, they have to be aware of this, right? Who would you nominate as a seeder and why exactly? Be as detailed as possible. Lisa, Janelle, Ryan, Brenda, Bina. I know I've asked this question of Bina before. We discussed this in great detail, so I'll skip you here, Bina.
Yes.
We had fun. We spent hours on this question, right? Lisa?
Yes.
Well, okay. Well, for me, I mean, I've read the story more than once, not this part because it's new.
Yes. Yeah.
But so for me, I could possibly answer that a little bit, but for those hearing it for the first time, it feels to me like it's a little early to ask that question. I mean, you have to get a better sense of what it actually is to answer that question.
Yes, I ask it early on purpose, exactly so that you can come to that conclusion that, oh, well, wait a second, but you know what? I need to know more. So there's a deliberate intent with asking it too early here, right? That is the ideal answer here, is to say, oh, it's too early. But you can try, and in the start, you say, I need to know more. But at least when you start to think about it, you start to open up the doors of what it is that you're now aware of that you need to know more about, right? So it is important to sometimes ask a question too early. Make sense, Lisa?
you might also start thinking of people that you like and start putting them in there, and then you realize later they might not be suitable for this sort of thing,
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
they're some of the
Exactly.
toxic people that you think you like, but they
Exactly.
wouldn't make this dream
Exactly.
come true, or they wouldn't
Exactly.
understand it and they would fight it completely.
Yes.
And then,
Exactly.
yeah, that's a food
Big
for
deal,
thought,
Brenda.
right?
Big deal.
Yes.
Or in the case of, with others that this question has come up with, they said, well, I love my mother, but she's not right for this. She's not negative. She's not toxic. She's not a horrible person. She's just not ideal because, well, she's a bit stuck in her ways. She's a bit closed and, she's got a few attitudes and habits. And, somebody said, well, my mother can be a bit racist. She doesn't mean to be. She's a wonderful, lovely person, but this is just how she grew up. Yeah. So this is an important point to be aware of and to start to say, wow, when you look at it in that detail, I still love my mother, the person said, yeah, but I realize they're not ideal for this. So we can love and appreciate those who might potentially could maybe grow and evolve a bit, yeah. So it's a good way to really have this deeper perception of people and appreciate them and celebrate difference. So it's a really potent question. I love this question. Absolutely love the question. And it's one we're going to keep in mind continuously. All these questions, Lisa, aren't necessarily meant to be answered and done and left over. Again, that's sort of, a habitual paradigm thing. No, these are open questions that will stay with us as we go through all of this, right? They're constantly there, constantly there. It's very powerful, very, very powerful. Very cool. I love this. I love this idea of considering. And, when I think of myself, I say, man, as even though this is my idea, I really consider very deeply if I would put myself on there. I don't take it for granted. I can come up with many, many reasons why not. Very profound question. What does good character mean to you in the most personal sense and in a more general overall sense? In your life now, let me just stop on that question. So this is key. And again, these ones at the end now, because we're coming to the end of it. These questions are absolutely ongoing questions that are going to be applying throughout everything. And as you know, Lisa, from the story, good character is the foundation of it all. Not personality, but character. And to understand the difference between personality and character. Very, very powerful, right? So in your life now, if your life now was scrutinized in detail, would you be comfortable with everything? Would you be comfortable with, let's say, some aliens had recorded your life from A to Z and said, oh, we're going to make a YouTube channel about, the life of you. Would you be okay with that? Anyone?
I would be. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Lisa, Janelle, Brenda? Sure, if you're still here?
Cher has to go. Cher has some appointments.
That's right. She said
Yeah.
so. It's so. So this is a
If
powerful
they
point.
if they did something, I would have to apologize for about 10 years when I became really gnarly and nasty, and I was in pain, but I used to tell people at work that that people would say Toronto was the center of the universe, and that was because I was there.
Wow.
When I went to Ottawa on a business trip, I said, how do you guys feel that Ottawa is now the center of the universe? Because I'm here. So I was very like egoic and stuff. So I'd have to, if somebody did a YouTube, I'd have to apologize for that part. But then when I learned shamanic stuff, I became able to kind of love myself and emanate love from anybody unconditionally, which I didn't think I had the power to do before. So,
so that sharing then would something be that would be very powerful. I mean, to me, I'd say, man, I'd love to see this, because the fact that you were in that bubble and that you're no longer in that bubble and you've learned from it, and that you say, man, sorry about that, but this is a powerful, powerful thing to share, the possibility of getting out of it, because many people are still stuck in those bubbles. So very powerful.
Exactly. And they don't maybe like things about themselves. I didn't like things about myself. I didn't like myself, just like Cher had said. I didn't like myself. I didn't like the wounded story I kept telling over and over again. Wow, 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 wow,
exactly.
And I'm just like, I don't like her. So
I love
the
it.
shaman stuff, they said, you're going to change. And they said, well, you'll change. You could go back to who you were.
Yes.
And then later he said,
Yes.
you really can't, because it doesn't
Yes.
exist anymore. You
Yes.
won't like it. So,
Yes.
if you really do your work properly, you can't go back. And I
Exactly.
was so grateful that I got
Yes.
dragged on this journey.
Yes.
And I decided to invest in myself and be a better person. And now I can see so much in potential in people.
Because you
And
see it in yourself.
that's part of the shamanic thing, is we see the healed outcome of the person, not who you are
Exactly.
now, who
Exactly.
you're supposed to be, who you were, who your authentic soul is. We see that part, we
Yeah.
hold that
Yeah.
part for
Yeah.
them. And they said, I think about the statue of David, I think it was supposedly that it was just a big piece of marble or something, but was it Da Vinci that did it?
Michelangelo.
Michelangelo.
He could, yeah, he could see it was just a big piece of marble, and he could see the statue inside. He didn't create it.
Yeah.
He just chipped away
Yeah.
the outside
Yeah.
until the statue
Yeah.
revealed
Yeah.
itself, like
Yeah.
very humble.
Yeah. Yeah.
you
He
know,
was
and
asked,
very
how do you
outcome.
create these sculptures? Right? Because even though he's known for painting the Sistine Chapel, right, as a painter, he always, when he signed his name, he always signed Michelangelo, sculptor. So he considered himself a sculptor. But he was asked on that point, Brenda, he was asked, how do you create these wonderful sculptures? He said, I don't create them. All I do was I take the marble and I chip away what isn't needed.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we have this, and to me, it's a fantastic exemplification of what I'm talking about, the moreness already within. Do we need to chip away that
No
excess?
ego.
We need to chip away all that stuff that's not there to bring that moreness out. So this is a very, very powerful point. On this point of good character, Janelle, Ryan, you guys have something to share? I love what you shared, Brenda. Oh, by the way, just as a real comment here, Brenda, I love that you bring your particular modality of change, which is shamanism, right? And I know others have this too. There are many such modalities, yes? Now, I'm sharing a particular modality here, but it's a modality that is inclusive of all these particular specific modalities, right? They're not
Exactly.
exclusive.
Yeah.
This is
The
something to be
puzzle
aware of,
pieces.
right?
The puzzle
Exactly.
pieces to put the
I'm
puzzle
sharing
together.
the grand overall, the noble ideal, when we get into it later, says that, hey, do what, if you want to be shamanistic, you want to be Wiccan, you want to be a philosopher, you want to be a theorist, whatever you want to be, it doesn't matter, as long as it gives you that value, as long as it's bringing you growth and awareness and moreness, doesn't matter what you do. They all arrive at the same end goal in the end. So yeah,
And in
this is
the
very
olden
powerful.
days, it took a carpenter and a blacksmith and a merchant and a
Exactly.
doctor and stuff to make a village, to make a community,
Exactly.
right? So
Exactly.
you wouldn't want all of the same. What you see on Star Trek, I love Star Trek.
Exactly.
It always
Exactly.
portrays these things, and you're just like, that's not just a TV show. That's trying to tell people something. It's trying to fit into the psychology
There's
of
more.
things.
There's more to it. There's more to it. Yes. When we start to see the moreness, the world explodes. The world explodes.
Was Janelle going to comment?
I think
have a
so.
comment
Orion.
too, but I'd like
I
them
think so.
to
I think so.
comment
I
first.
am keen to get them there. Yes. Yes. Please, Janelle. Please, Ryan. Share. Hello, Ryan.
Oh, yeah, Janelle, she's just stepped away in the kitchen. Oh, there she is. You want to go first?
Please go.
It's
Oh,
unmuted.
that was
Yeah.
unmuted. Okay. I had to step away for a second
Yeah.
for the kids. Are we just talking about good character?
Yes.
Well, as far as that YouTube show
Yeah,
goes,
YouTube,
I
yeah.
would be a lot more open to that now than 10 years ago.
Yes. Yes. I love to hear
Even
that.
a year
Sorry.
ago, maybe. Yeah.
Well, it's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress.
It's like
And
a
it's-
marble, a piece of marble.
Exactly.
You start out like not looking like anything. or-
Yeah. And I've always just totally a side
And you can
note.
chip away and it looks worse at first.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does. Totally a side note. When you do watch a reality show, which I haven't in a while, just busy life, but I remember it was so popular. We've all seen one or two.
Right.
Yeah.
And everyone's very cordial and very nice the first day. And then it doesn't even take 24, 48 hours. And it just like
Yeah.
all hell breaks loose. And,
Yeah.
these people are fighting. It's a disaster. But the
Yeah.
conclusion at the end,
Mhm.
it's the people are good. it's
Exactly.
goodness, it's moreness, but they have to like really tear each other apart to get to that. I mean, you know, that's kind of in a nutshell.
What that fighting is a superiority paradigm trying to assert itself. Once that works itself out, and then you get alternative paradigms coming into view, goodness and that. Now, but unfortunately, most people don't have the tools, the ability, and they have to go through all that nonsense, right? Which is what, when we look at this from this overview perspective, this deeper paradigm, we can see it, and then we can avoid that because we don't have to go through that. So I love this, that both of you feel that, yes, you can. Now, if we're in a position that we said, look, you know, when we look back at the past, I'm like, oh my goodness, but I'm happy to do this now because I'm in a spot now where I'm acknowledging, accepting, and connecting to my goodness and my moreness. Yes, I was an idiot. Yes, I was an nincompoop. And likely in 10 years' time, when I look back to now, I'm going to go, oh my goodness, what were you thinking? But this is important. This is where acceptance and celebration of difference starts. Yes, the acceptance and celebration of your own difference, right? And of course, the acknowledgement of our nincompoopery. We have to acknowledge that. Lisa, you were going to add to that.
Yes. What struck me was the kind of correspondence of the question to near-death experiences that so many people have talked about. You know, because can you put the quote back up?
Oh, sure.
Because hello.
The quote or the question?
The question. Yeah, the question. That's important to be up right now. Okay, so like if your life now was scrutinized in detail, well, so many people who have had near-death experiences have said that that's what happens. You have this like big screen, and your whole life goes before you, and then you get to experience how others felt, blah blah blah, and then you get to think about what you might have done differently. But the wonderful thing about change during your life is that it is very similar to dying. Parts of your character die and are replaced with new things, with a new way of being, and that's very uncomfortable. And so there's this huge correlation between this question and dying.
Very powerful, and it's why I bring it in, Lisa. Sorry, Bina, one second. I just want to say, because in Way of Impeccability, as some of you know, dealing with the issue of our death is absolutely the point of it all. If we don't say, how am I going to deal with this? And be prepared to deal with alternative realities, alternate existences, whatever, well, then you might find yourself, you know, stuck somewhere. So yes, the scrutiny of our life, why wait until you have a near death or death experience? Do it now. It's precisely the logic underlying it all, Lisa. I'm glad you bring that up. Very, very powerful. Bina?
Yes, I was just want to add something, because as Lisa made a point, and also Janelle, that our life going to be scrutinized. This is the idea mostly in common in all religion. And at least I assume that it's common. So we are kind of like, okay, mind conditioned for that it is going to be. So there is some sort of accountability exists there. But the idea from the Moreness-Project and the Way of Impeccability is that whatever happens at that time, when we look at it from the abstract point of view, we get this understanding that it was appropriate according to that awareness at that time we had.
Exactly.
So that's why when I was saying that, okay, I'm going to be comfortable with my life being scrutinized, like, okay, at any point, because whatever happened, I'm not the saint here, okay? I'm not the angel here. Yes, of course, we all have things in our life which I feel like, oh my God, like really? Well, this is what I was thinking. This is what I was doing. This is how I was responding. And it is going to be, as you mentioned, Sil, that it is going to happen a few years in future. Like, okay, yes. And we will say, oh my God, we know what you were saying at that time. I might get some more awareness about this. So it's not about being good or bad, or it is like really appropriate all the time. It is about being appropriate according to the awareness we had at that time. So whatever happened, whatever I was doing, it was according to that. So my reactions, my response might not be appropriate for any other person. It might not be good as in general, like, no, okay, yes, but I'm comfortable because I have made this at peace with. I'm at peace with whatever I was doing at that time. It was
Mhm.
according to that awareness. That's it.
Mm, mm.
So even
Yes.
even
Right.
if the God or Allah or nature is going to ask me that, okay, whatever you are doing, I'm going to say that, yes, this is what I did because I was not aware of it. And what I did,
Right.
only the thing I have in my defense is that I was trying to be aware. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Ryan, share. Please share. Please share, Ryan.
Oh,
She
just
has something.
I kept hearing like the whole time she was talking is, you know, um, just accepting our inappropriate application of goodness.
Yes.
And being okay with that part of
Yeah.
ourselves. Because
Yes.
that's what I kept hearing Bina say was like, you know, we feel as if we're good or bad, right? That's that right
Yes.
or wrong, win lose thing.
Yeah.
But the way Sil put it in the beginning when we first started doing the program was, he's like, no, you didn't do anything bad. You just applied your goodness inappropriately.
Exactly.
And I
This
always,
concept.
really stuck
This
with me.
concept, Ryan, I love that you bring this concept. It is one of the most life-changing conceptions that I know of. This concept of inappropriate application of goodness, or hyphenated with the caps, right? It's a huge, huge concept. It changes everything. And when we understand this and we look
Thank
back at
you.
our lives in that scrutiny, and you say, oh my goodness, I was such a nincompoop then. I was nasty, or as Brenda said, gnarly. I love that you used this word gnarly, Brenda. This is cool. But you know what? At the time, you thought this was what you were supposed to do. According to the superiority paradigm, this is like the way to be, and be all self-important
Right.
and gnarly and rude and aggressive and whatever. Oh man, you were trying to be good in a terrible, inappropriate way. Yes, Brenda?
Exactly, exactly. And we're talking about awareness, but also emotional intelligence.
Precisely.
When you're a
Precisely.
baby, you can't be held responsible for what you are.
Exactly.
So when your soul is growing and experiencing, you can't be held
Exactly.
100% responsible for
Yes.
the paradigm you were born in, the belief system you were born in,
Exactly.
beliefs people put on you.
Exactly.
But so your emotional
Yes.
intelligence, but also your woundedness. If you're
Yes.
wounded, if you're in pain and you're wounded and you're suffering, you can't be expected to get out of that by yourself very
Exactly.
easily. Like your defenses are up, your defense mechanisms are up,
Yeah.
you're reacting, you're not the person that you wanted to be. And that's where I was. And
Exactly.
I actually did past life. So I went to past lives where I was a
Wow.
gnarlier person than today, 10 years ago.
Oh, you
And
weren't the princess. Ah, see now, finally some honesty. Everybody goes into past lives. Oh, you were the princess or the queen. No,
No,
you were some nincompoop back then.
I was a sheriff, and I was holding people hostage for their money and treating people badly, and they all shot me from the windows like you see in the Old West, and they all shot me because
I
was
love this. I love this.
doing
This is
that.
fantastic.
So I went,
Okay.
and then I was there to hold that person and tell them that I loved them and forgave them and asked them to forgive themselves. And that's one great thing about the past life experiences. It's like a death in your death, but it's you don't have to wait to see if you're going to die sometime and come back. So it's a really good thing. So you're with that person and you forgive them and they forgive themselves. And a whole weight is lifted off your spirit.
Yes.
And
Yes.
go back to that. So, and I love your nincompoopery. I wrote it down.
Oh,
Nincompoop.
it's
I like
profound.
that.
And when we get into nincompoopery, it's not just this acceptance of nincompoopery, but also to say, in order to play and have fun, we need to bring out that side of nincompoopery, right? So it's not only a negative, it's part of our magic is our nincompoopery. That's why I love this term. Thank you, Brenda, for emphasizing it. It's a very, very big deal. It's very cool. I want to touch on some of the comments here, right, to celebrate some of the comments, because they're just really cool comments here. And again, I encourage people to read the comments. They're really profound. And especially if you're watching a replay, The comments, because it's alive, Facebook puts a timestamp on there, so you can set the comments to be in the order. So as you're watching, you can watch the people comment in real time, and it's very, very valuable, right? I mean, I'm a bit out of it to synchronize because I'm doing so much stuff here, right? But Elizabeth says, for instance, the parameters of scrutiny become alien compared to what used to be understood. Yes, exactly. Elizabeth. That's a very profound comment. And to touch that understanding with a word that Brenda used, forgiveness. I'll share another profound quote, right? When we understand, capital U, understand, there's nothing to forgive. I find this so profound. Right? Forgiveness just kind of melts away when we truly understand. When you look back at your life, when at that time when you completely enveloped in your gnarliness, I'm going to use this. I love this word gnarly, Brenda. I've always loved it. Right? When you were enveloped and immersed in your gnarliness, when you look back now and you understand why, because you didn't like yourself, etc., whatever, right? When you understand, you can forgive yourself. Well, there's nothing to forgive, even because you can transcend it because you understand, right? You can go past forgiveness. Very powerful when you understand. And Ramsey said, I love this comment from Ramsey. A community of seeders needs a community of waterers to water the seeds. I'm paraphrasing. So yes, Ramsey, precisely. That's why the seeders originally there, if you noticed, it was in inverted commas, right? Because that's kind of how they became known. But the actuality is a community of not only waterers, but nurturers, and a community that has suns in them too, because you need the light too. Yes. Remember I said that a selection could simply because you've just lived a good life. You had nothing special. You were just this ordinary salt of the earth person. That's a son to me. Those people are sons, right? Or nurturers. Yes. They provide value simply through being. And in a community of seeds, like you say, we need water, we need nourishment, we need light, right? We need the whole range. So very profound comment from Ramsey there. Yes. Again, the seeding is just the start. Yeah. Ramsey adds here, I myself have learned not to be good to just everybody. Not everyone appreciates your goodness, precisely. We need to be judicious with the sharing of ourselves. Have to be judicious, yes? Not everyone appreciates your goodness. Some are there to use you or abuse you, precisely. I have a limited circle where I share unlimited goodness and put some limits where I share neutrality, but never negativity. Precisely. So this is as the story goes through, this is the exquisiteness that we are going to learn, this exquisiteness of discernment, and particularly first the awareness that you just shared. Then we need the discernment to apply it. And then, of course, the understanding comes of how it all works. And then we can go and apply it, because without application, it's all meaningless, right? Got to be practical. This is very, very powerful. Yes, non-judgmental. Yes, and we are going to wrap it up in a minute, right? So this, there's many comments here. I'd love to touch on them all, and I'd love to hear. So please, anybody else, right? I hope I can. Saika, I hope I'm saying your name right. Saika Dun. Yes, very cool. Rick, frozen screens with Catch Your Done. All right, sorry to hear that, Rick. I want to hear your comments, Rick. I want to hear your comments. I'm pleased to hear. Rick is an author, writes, also science fiction stories. He's got a whole wonderful series, and it's part of the Clara Class series. Anyway, long story there. But man, authors, they have a special place in my heart. So I want to hear more. But I wanted to say, though, for everybody that's listening, please comment. Please comment. Your comments matter. They make a difference. They really make a difference. So please comment. Yes. Now, this is a big deal. There's a lot we're going to share here. Bina, love to see you there. Hello, Bina. I want to just start wrapping it up because we're at the end of time. So please share if you have any conclusion, overview, thoughts, any of you before Bina wraps it up for us. Lisa, Brenda, Janelle, Ryan.
I just want to make a quick comment when we're talking about doing like a reality show or show of your life. Bina, you are not even the same person.
Huh?
You are totally different. This is a perfect example of how it's almost like how a flower blossoms. You're closed up, a lot of rough edges, and then just your life open. So thank you. I appreciate that. And I want to say the same for Cher. I know she had to leave, but same for her. And we all have that. I just got to witness, you know, that. So thank you.
Now, before we go, Janelle, I have news for you. The same applies to you. And, you know, so specifically, right, Babina, I'll actually point that out specifically. I'm seeing the difference in your posture, Janelle. The way you're holding yourself now is very different from before. If you pay attention, you can go back, and I've got video evidence to prove this. It's not just my theory here. You can look. It's like there's this in the inside. If you look like, I can't point to it, but in your inside here, right?
Yes.
It's like there's this rod over there that was a little bitty, not quite as firm as it is now, right? It's a very big shift and a difference, right? Your whole expression level and the confidence and self-acceptance that you have now, you feeling your moreness. It's so clear and evident in you. So it's very powerful. Now I'm commenting on Janelle because I can see her better than you, Ryan. But I suspect the same for you, right? So I'm just emphasizing this,
Thank
right?
you.
And of course, what Brenda said and what Lisa said right earlier, we see others in ourselves. Ryan emphasized this point too. So you made this comment, but really, who are you talking to? You're actually talking to yourself, Janelle.
We're celebrating our wins today. It's important to be in a community, like you said. We need to also
Wins or
celebrate
moreness?
and share.
Celebrate your moreness. I say moreness because wins are relative. I try and avoid that
Excuse
term.
me.
But,
The moreness. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
You know, because we can.
Oh.
Please go ahead.
Oh, can I share just another Star Trek thing? It's just interesting. It was the technology side, though. I'm always late for stuff, right? Get ready, have a shower. I didn't have a shower today. That's why I'm not live on this thing. But I always take forever to get a shower, get ready, and then I'm always late. So my friends always tell me a half hour early or an hour early, and they don't tell me the time because I'm always late. And I said, someday Scotty's going to make a transporter and I'm going to be able to get to the place when it's due. So there's no transporter, but what is there? There is Zoom, where we're together all across the country at a moment's notice. Right. I don't have to take an hour to travel or half an hour to travel. So it's not exactly the way Scotty did it, but I can get to my appointment in 10 seconds, just like the transporter. So
isn't that magical? And you can have your avatar be there for you. It's too wonderful. It's too wonderful and
your avatar.
Yeah. And not your atavar, but your avatar. Big difference, right? We don't want to see your atavar. Thank you very much. No. Keep that in the basement. Thank you.
And the avatar, the people that you want in your community, well, you have to make sure you have the right people and the right balance. The movie Avatar, they had scientists and all these people that were loving and warm, and then they had too many military people that didn't have the right right attitude, and they went around and killed everybody and tried to kill the tree of life.
Exactly.
A good thing to show your community should have balance and like-minded, proper people, and not someone to go off.
So we're cultivating this overview, abstract perspective in what you're saying, Bina. Sorry to jump in here, but you are illustrating precisely what I am looking to illustrate in more detail. A conflict of paradigm. Avatar, the movie, is precisely about this conflict of profound paradigms. Yes, and we want to shift those paradigms. Very, very important. Lisa, anything before we go? I mean, I could do this all day. I love this.
Yeah. I just want to say that I'm really glad to be here.
Yes, me too. And I am really glad you are here. And also in terms of somebody who has changed profoundly, Lisa. Yeah. You know, you work so hard at it, Lisa. It's amazing to me, you know, really and truly. I admire that. You know, it's a big deal. So Bina, please share.
Okay, no, I was just keen to wrap it up before, because it was getting like more than 2 hours. So I'm here to do this odd job. Like, okay, no, Sel, you have to wrap up. You have to wrap up now, otherwise it is going to be very long. But before we go, this whole experience today was really amazing. Thank you, Janelle. Thank you, Ryan, for coming up and showing up, because your sharing is always really beneficial. Not only for that, but also that so much to think about, so much to be, because it's not just sharing you just throw out. It just initiate a lot of conversation, which is so profound. Everybody, you
Mhm.
automatically by default, you encourage other people to jump into that. So that is so
Mm.
profound. Thank you so much, Brenda, for coming and joining.
Thank
I
you,
love
Biella.
your avatar, by the way. Like really, it's so
Yes,
cute.
yes,
And it's so
yes,
fun to watch that
yes,
too, with big
yes,
eyes opening like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
also you're sharing about the shamanism and the Star Trek. I have watched those series in my childhood, but it was because I was not aware of this language much. So it was all just the story I was trying to understand. But now you guys like sparked so much interest in that. Maybe I will go again and watch all those.
There
Oh,
you go.
I
There you go.
tape
Thank
them,
you
Star
so
Trek
much, Brenda.
Enterprise and Star Trek
Yeah,
Next
yeah.
Generation, and I
Very
have the
good.
whole DVD of the original Star Trek, which Captain Kirk was my hero,
There
and I
you
got to
go.
meet him. I went to like a Comic-Con.
Oh,
I went to
wow.
Fan Toronto in
Wow.
2014. I got to meet Captain Kirk and Jean-Luc Picard, and they got their autograph.
Wonderful.
I am totally a
Wonderful.
Trekkie. A Trekkie. They changed
Ah,
it. to
brilliant,
Trekker. I am not a
brilliant,
Trekker. I'm a
brilliant, brilliant,
Trekkie. It's the
brilliant.
original. There's
Yeah. So
something
now
about
you have to come on.
originality. Yeah.
Wonderful.
There,
Yes.
yeah, and I wanted to say, Lisa, thank you for saying that that I'm amazing.
Yes.
You're amazing
Yes.
too.
Yes.
Well, you know, I'm a real Trekkie too, but not to the extent of actually going to those, you know, like conventions, but like the original series. I mean, I still watch it because the sets are just amazingly simple.
Yeah.
You know, every set is they're minimally amazing. You know, like the lighting and you know, I mean, and just I mean, you know, who can fault the underlying message of every single
Exactly.
episode? There's
And the stories
always
Exactly.
something.
The stories are
Exactly.
great, and Gene Roddenberry was a visionary.
Yes.
Visionary.
Visionary. Yeah. 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 All right. I tell you what I'm going to do then. You know, I used to have on Fridays, I call it Open Friday, which my Zoom is always open, and just something I did for the participants. But because I'm not doing these on Friday, maybe in that Open Friday, we can go on and share that this personal myth story, which there's a greater point to it. It's about all of us creating our own personal myths, and I'm sharing my particular personal myth. And it's a deep story and logic to it, but it happens to be all Star Trek. And if you're into Star Trek, then it's always fun and it makes sense. And it's about inclusivity, and it's all about bringing people into it, as you'll see how it goes. So it's very cool story.
Cool.
So
Okay.
I'll
Thank
share
you,
it. I'll
Lisa.
share it.
Thank you
Yes.
for your amazing comments, and also thank you for
Yes.
liking the
Yes.
profile pic I have on Zoom, because you mentioned that in the comment.
Yes.
I also
Yes.
love it because
Yes.
it is so much more into that. Okay.
Just before we go,
So,
Abina,
thank
will
everyone.
you look into your camera real quick, please? Look at your camera, the little
Mhm.
circle of your camera.
Okay.
Now, do you see
Yeah,
the avatar
okay.
there with the big eyes?
I try to look here and here there because I know that my eyes don't look very big.
I got to tease Bina just a little bit. Yeah, I love you guys
I
all.
try
I
to
just
think that.
love that you here.
Okay.
Just love that you all here, by the way. Truly, it's a big deal
Yes.
and it's fun. And this is ongoing. So be aware for anybody wanting to come on. You don't have to follow the story. Look, Brenda jumped in the middle of it and it didn't matter, none at all, right?
I thought it started at 12. Sorry, I thought I was starting when you
That's
were
okay.
starting.
Yeah, no.
I
It's
guess
all
I
good.
didn't look
It's
at
all
the
good.
timing.
Yeah, no problem. But it doesn't matter because, of course, if you really want the story, you can go back into it, and I'll put the link to it I'll put it at
Okay.
the top. And so
Like to
if you
watch
know,
it.
you can just scroll through the slides yourself to read it. So
Okay.
ongoing. But that's in the future, though. If you miss a Sunday, it doesn't matter. You know, you can come anytime because we're going to be doing this for a long time now. And it doesn't matter if you're not following the story, because yes, the story is a fun thing and it is important, but it's not the key of it, right? It's this moreness that we're sharing. It's those
Community.
connections,
Yeah.
the community precisely, and it's the space that I am creating, this environment that we can share and be open and get whatever comes up, you know, and you can talk about whatever your things are, and we can see each other's moreness, right? This is the point. This is the point. All right. Bye-bye,
So
Janelle.
it's
Bye-bye, Ryan. Good.
every Sunday. Okay.
Every Sunday,
Yes.
8 p.m. Pacific time, correct. So in other words,
Oh,
2
yes.
hours before now, whatever your local time is now, you know, it's
Yeah.
10,
It'd be
15, but
11,
you know,
11 o'clock.
Right. So just take 2
Okay.
hours before now, and then it's there. So yeah, it's very important. Every Sunday we'll be doing this. And again, if you come a little late, I don't care. And you are. I've opened up the Zoom. Anybody can come on Zoom if they want to, or not. Either way, some people are comfortable with Zoom, others aren't. You don't have to show your picture if you don't want to. You can use an avatar. You can put your name. You can upload a picture. All good. Right. We're very open to whatever. Right, this is the key: openness, 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 and acceptance, and of course, celebration. Celebration. I celebrate your difference. Yeah, celebrate.
Okay.
Brenda.
It's 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock on Sunday. I'll try and get my makeup on by then.
Okay,
So I
which
can-
is so you must be Eastern time then, right, Brenda?
Eastern time. Yeah, I saw you say 8 o'clock Pacific, and I thought, oh, he's got it
Right.
wrong. It's 9 Pacific because there's 3 hours difference. I didn't realize it started an hour earlier.
Yeah, because it's summer now. That's why there's 3 hours difference. In winter, there's 2. Yeah. So that's the difference. All right, brilliant. Bina, anything last to go?
No.
Okay.
Just saying bye now.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Nice
Bye-bye.
meeting
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Yes, very nice. Yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye. 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 End meeting for all. Wonderful. Wonderful.